In this video, I will show how to use multiple commonly used aggregate functions in SQL. So, the commonly used aggregate functions which we will be learning are sum, minimum, maximum, standard deviation, average, and count. So, all these functions I will be demonstrating in this video. So, before starting the video, let me query the table and show you what schema the table is having. So, let me query the table and we will be using the table employee. Select star from employee table. Let me execute this query and see what is the schema. Yeah, as you can see, I have executed the SQL query and we have got the table. The table consists of 4 columns which are employee ID, employee name, department name and salary. And here employee ID will be the primary key for the table, which means employee ID will be unique for each of the employees. Now, let me start with the first aggregate function, which is sum. So, the question will be what will be the total compensation given to employees by the company, which means what is the sum of salary given to the employees. So, for that I will have to find the total salary, which means the sum of salary column I will have to find using the query. So, let me write the query, select sum of, the column I am using is salary as total compensation. Here I am using us and total compensation because using us I am giving an alias name to the calculated column called sum of salary, and after this as total compensation we will have to give the table name from the table employee. Now, let me run this query only and see what is the total compensation given to the employees by the company. Yes, now we have got the total compensation given to employees by the company. Now, let us modify the question into a different way, which we can answer using the same sum function. Now, let me execute this query to query the entire table, and now the question will be what is the sum of salaries given to employees by each department, which means instead of the total sum I have to get the sum of salaries with respect to each departments. Now, let us create a query to query the same. The question is total compensation by department. So, let me write the query, select. Now, we want department name because we are calculating the total compensation by department. DPT underscore NME comma sum of salary as total compensation from the same table employee. Here we will have to use one more clause, which is the group by clause. Group by department name. So, now let us run this query and see what is the result. Yes, now we have got the total compensation given to employees by each of the department. So, that is how we use the sum aggregate function normally. these are two simple examples. Now let us move to the next aggregate function, which is minimum. Let me write a query to find the same. That is, we will be explaining the minimum aggregate function. Before that, let me query the table, because that makes it easy to understand what I am actually doing. Yes. Now coming down, what I have to find is what is the minimum salary offered by the company. Minimum salary given by the company. This is the question I need to answer. So the query will be select min. For minimum, we will be using the clause min. Then from the salary column, I have to obtain the minimum as minimum salary from the same table, which is employee. Now we'll get the minimum salary from the table. Let me try running this query and see what is the result. Yes. So 2000, let it be in rupees. So 2000 will be the minimum salary, or not will be, 2000 is the minimum salary offered by the company to its employees. Now let us do the same thing with respect to each department. What we can do is we can copy the same query. Only change we have to do is, instead of this sum, we will have to change into minimum, and the name also we have to change, because it should be correct, otherwise we will be getting some wrong column name. Now let us run this query and see what is the minimum salary offered by each departments. Now let me run this query. Yes, now we have got the result. So we can see from the result, admin department offers 2000 as the minimum salary, finance department offers 5000 as the minimum salary, HR offers 3000, and IT offers 4000. Now let us move on to the next question, that is next aggregate function, that is maximum. Here the question is very similar. Instead of minimum salary given by the company, we have to find the maximum salary offered by the company. The query will be select. For maximum, we will have to use max from the column salary as maximum salary from the table employee. Now let me run this query and see what is the result. Yes, now we have got the result. We can see from here 11,000 is the maximum salary offered by the company to its employees. Now let us calculate it for each department. We can copy the same query as above for each department, or I will write it once again, because it becomes more clear when I write it again, otherwise I am simply copying all the time. Let me write the query again. Select max salary. Before that, let me query the table, because then it makes it more easy to understand which column I am querying. Yes. Now let me write the query to calculate the maximum salary for each department. Maximum salary. Before that, let me write the column name with respect to which we have to calculate the maximum salary. So its department underscore name for each department what is the maximum salary, and we are naming the new maximum salary column as max salary from the table employee, and using the group by clause we are grouping the max function department name. Now let me run this query and see what is the maximum salary offered to each maximum salary offered by each department. So as you can see, we found the maximum salary offered by each department. Now let us move on to the next aggregate, commonly used aggregate function, which is standard deviation. Here we will be finding the standard deviation with respect to the column salary, and see what is the standard deviation of the salary column. For that, as you can see, it doesn't matter if I am using lowercase or uppercase here, because for this the collation is set to be like that. There is another concept called collation, in which we will have to set different collation to write different queries, and depending upon the collation, that is totally another different concept. Maybe I will explain in another video. So here we don't have to worry about any lowercase or uppercase. Even if I am writing the query and the column names in lowercase and uppercase, it does not matter, but I'm simply using lowercase here, that's all. Now I'm calculating the standard deviation. Select STDEV. That is how we write the function for standard deviation, and the column is salary as standard deviation from employee table. Let me run this and see what is the standard deviation. Yes, so the standard deviation is 2326 point. There are lots of points coming, so if we want to round it to a certain number of decimals, we can use the round function, round to 2 decimal points. Now let me run and see what is the result. Now we have got 2326.21. This is the standard deviation. Similarly, I can find the standard deviation for each department as well. I'm copying the previous query because it's the same department name. Instead of max, I'm using here STDEV, standard deviation function, and in order to limit the number of decimal points, I'm using the round function also here, comma 2, and I am renaming the maximum salary column to column name to standard deviation from the table employee and group by department name. Now let me run this and see what is the standard deviation per department. Now we have got the standard deviation per department for the column salary. Now let us see what is the next commonly used aggregate function, which is average. Let me write the query for average. Here the question is, find the average salary offered by the company. Offered by the company. So the query will be select, the function is AVG, and open the bracket, and we have to use the salary column because we are calculating the average salary, and we are renaming the new column into AVE average underscore salary using the alias name average salary. The name can be anything. Using the as clause, we are giving average salary as the name. Average, the name can be anything what you prefer. Then using the table name, we are using from employee table. Let us see what is the average salary offered. So the average salary offered by the company is 5,791. Now let us modify the question similar to the previous examples. What is the average salary offered by the company for each department? Before that, let me run the query for the table. Then it will be easy for us to see and observe like what we are calculating and what is happening. Select. Let me copy the query because this is a recurring task only. Let me go back, copy the same query as above, copy. Here also I am using the round function because anyway we are going to use the average function. Definitely there will be some decimal points coming mostly, so it's better to use a round function to make it obviously fixed to 2 decimal points. And we are renaming the standard deviation to average salary. What we are doing is selecting the department name and we are calculating the average salary per department from the table employee, and only if we group by department name we will get the salary by each average salary for each department. Now let me run the query and see. Yes, now we are getting the average salary for each department. Now let me move on to the final commonly used aggregate function, which is count. Count is a very commonly used aggregate function because every time we need to see how many number of rows are present in a column, present in a table, we always use the count. And there are multiple use cases by which using count we will be able to find what are the duplicates in a table, what are the specific number of combinations of data is available in the table and all. So count is a very helpful function during the validation stage of the data analytics. Now the question will be simply what I told earlier. Let us see what is the total number of rows present in this table. So for that I have to simply select, we'll use the count function, open the bracket and put star, close it as row underscore count from employee table. Now let us see what is the total row count. We can see that we have 24 rows in the table employee. Now let us see number of rows present per each department. Here also we can use the same logic and same query, but here we don't have to use any round function and all because the count will be obviously not having any decimal points. So I'm removing that round. Instead of the average I'm using count, and instead of salary, I don't want salary to be used here. Let me use the star itself and a row count from the table employee and group by department name. Let me execute the query and see what is the row count. See, now we have for admin has 4 rows, finance has 4 rows, HR has 6 and IT has 10. And if we sum up all this row count, we will get the total row count that we saw earlier. Let me run both the query together and I will show that. So the total row count is 24 and individual per department the row counts are 4, 4, 6 and 10. So the sum will be 24, as you can see. So this is how we use the commonly used aggregate functions in SQL. This is the basic implementation, but there are complex implementations as well. I will come up with those in my later videos. Thank you.